Katha?
Yes.
Please cop.
Should I start?
Yes, yes.
Am I visible?
Yes, yes. Ma'am,
Okay.
please.
Good.
Yes, yes, yes. Happy evening.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kotha Banerjee, welcoming to you all for the live interaction session hosted by I am a pharmacist and scripted by say sorry, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Sanyasi, she's audible, right?
Hello.
Yeah, Katha, you're audible. You can go ahead, I think.
Ma'am,
Okay. Host.
ma'am, please continue, Sejal.
Yes. Can I start the sharing or?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Can I start, Sanyasi?
Yes, ma'am, please start.
Yeah. Yes, a very good evening to one and all present here. We are going to have a session today regarding for the clinical research of pharmacovigilance, the entire job opportunities, the career opportunities, everything. So you can share in the questions. Katha is coordinating with me. So whatever questions you have, both for India and for abroad requirements, whatever is the requirements you require for entering into the clinical research industry. And first of all, to have an introduction, I think you would have got my profile. I'm basically a B Pharmacy with an MBA marketing and MBA HR, and I had almost around 10 years of experience in clinical trials in PV. I had been working both into the pharmaceutical industry as well as into the recruitment process, and then we began with this institution from Chennai, based from Chennai across the globe. We have expanded this entire operation. So one of the most sought after institution. The only reason is like you find a pharmaceutical, you have a HR recruiter who works on the basic levels of what you require to enter into a clinical research industry. So this session will take you through a basic screen slide point presentation, which will cover the clinical trial part, the clinical data management, as well as for the pharmacovigilance. And then you can go ahead with the question answer session. Okay, so moving on to the slide. So we'll go through a slide point presentation, which will take you through the basic levels of. Is this slide audible to everyone? Is it visible? So you can look at this entire thing, which is a group of all top students in universities, like from Dubai, BITS Pilani to Dubai National College of
Yes,
Pharmacy,
ma'am.
everything. So we'll go through the entire slide point presentation. So the first part, which begins with the clinical research introduction. So we have this methodical and systematic study of drugs devices, biologics, vaccines used in diagnosis, prevention or treatment of diseases, the broader aims of improving quality of life for the patient of tomorrow. The phases of clinical trials, which starts with quoting the phases of clinical trials with their respective discoveries aiming at safety. So we all are aware, all the pharma students will be aware that you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, where it covers with the entire volunteers. What is drug discovery and development? The discovery of a new molecule with the process of target identification, target validation, the lead identification and lead optimization, which covers with the drug development by preclinical and clinical methods. So before the clinical trial begins, the first part starts with the target identification. You have the target validation, lead identification and lead optimization. This is a session where you have the new drug development, which starts with the target identification. You can look into the entire picture. The first part is the target being identified. Say like for a diabetic drug, a diabetic patient, and the diabetic patient is the target. So he's identified first, and the lead has to be optimized. Whether the particular patient is having any kind of other additional health conditions, like they are having cholesterol or any other conditions. So the lead has to be optimized. Then it goes in for a medicinal chemistry. It further moves towards in vitro studies and in vivo studies. We have a process of the designing of clinical trials, which happens with the experience, planning and proper execution of clinical trials for assessing the effectiveness of intervention. So split into planning and execution steps, which in turn provides improved success rates. The process of ICH guidelines. So which starts with the stability, impurities testing, GMP, and also with carcinogenicity, genotoxicity, reprotoxicity. All these covers with which is for the ICH guidelines. And the major reason why to enter into a clinical research associate as a fresher and you want to enter into a multinational company, the companies expect all these basic guidelines, because from day one you will be exposed to doing trials with the patients, handling the documentation part. So you'll understand, like you can see in the ICH guidelines of last modules, which is MEDRA coding and CTD, which is for the electronic standards. So you'll find the MEDRA coding, CTD, electronic standards. We have the protocol designing, the study plan formulated in accordance with the ICH GCP guidelines, standards of clinical trials. And it also involves with study designs, inclusion and exclusion criteria, sample size, the treatment schedules, and also assessment of safety and efficiency. So you have a particular protocol designing, like all of you are aware, step-by-step procedure is have to be designed in accordance with all the ICH GCP guidelines and the standards of clinical trials. So it involves with all this inclusion of study objectives, study designs, everything. And based on that, a protocol design has to be designed. There's something which is called the ethics in clinical research, which is involved in aiming at the protecting and the well-being of the trial subjects. If you would all know, like, is it required to have an ethics in the industry of clinical trials? It is very, very important, because that's why the vulnerable population, because you can say that you need to have an informed consent with special protection of vulnerable population. Regulatory affairs. The requirements and guidelines to undertake clinical trials in India, the Schedule Y. We have something of Section 21 of CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations for the submission of IND applications. And you also have the global regulatory processes for the initiation and conduction of clinical trials. So you can look into the picture, the regulatory affairs, project management, and the management marketing team, which is continuously processing on this particular requirement, which is for the entire regulatory affairs industry. So it is called as international regulatory affairs. We have something called biostatistics. We have something called biostatistics, which is the statistical significance in the sample size for appropriate results. So which involves with the statistics and epidemiology, data coordination, research information system. Research information systems and research information systems and information services. So we have something which is the bioanalytical bioequivalence studies, which is the bioavailability and bioequivalence. So all of you are aware of the bioequivalence studies, and simultaneously we'll be proceeding with the distribution of tissue and receptor sites. We have a procedure of documentation, which is the preparation of case report form, CRF, the role of CRA, clinical research associate, and clinical trial coordinator in powerful documentation of trial documents. So the role of CRO, contract research organization, in completion of cases. So you can look at the picture where person is providing with the form. So we call it as case report form. The preparation of case report form is a very, very important role of a clinical research associate and a clinical trial coordinator, because this particular CRF has to be a specialized, a specified software. The form is very specified, and for conducting for all this documentation part, which happens in the industry of clinical data management, we use a specified software. So the specified software could be Medidata Ray. In certain cases, we have something called as clinical SAS. Clinical SAS is also used in the clinical data management industry. So depending on the software used and the role of clinical data management, we have multiple various job descriptions. That is like we have a e-trial master file specialist role in certain companies, and some companies take as clinical document management associate. Certain companies take it as clinical trial managers, or they take it as clinical data management procedures. So we have this process where for clinical data accuracy and integrity, it is necessary to thoroughly review the data, to assess the validity of the data, and to carefully document the query identification and resolution throughout the study duration. And it also involves maintaining assurance and quality throughout the trial. So we have something called pharmacovigilance, the post-marketing surveillance of the drug after successful clinical trial report, which enhances improving quality care. The adverse event reporting. So that is the most important part that has been seen, which is called the MEDRA coding, the process of signal detection. So the adverse event reporting through appropriate coding forms and adverse event codes, which is called as the process of signal detection. Yeah, so the answers from the clinical trials regarding efficacies, CDM processes, such as trial data acquisition, validation, integration, database administration. So you can look into the picture, which shows one particular system is connected with multiple computers. Like, so it is very evidential that a particular software. See, and what is the common question any person should ask? Like, why is it very important we use a particular software, a specialized software, Medidata Ray or SAS? What is the difference, and why is it exclusive only for the clinical trial and clinical data management process? So what is the reason for keeping a specified specification? Because all the particular data which is involved with clinical data management, it involves with the backup security, all these things are very, very confidential information. See, some patients are taking part of a trial, they have a disease condition, and to reveal it, or any, because any person from somebody somewhere in Gurgaon, somebody is going through a trial, they are undertaking through a trial, and somebody in some other place, in some other MNC, they are going to handle with the software which is going to involve this information. So there are certain intramed codings which is being used, and based on that they will be confirming with this entire process. So that is the reason the CDM consists of various processes. So that is the reason that they have with a very specialized software such as trial data acquisition. So they need to have with the Medidata Rave certification, and only based on that they will be confirming with the procedure. So what is the clinical research background? The clinical research jobs are amongst the most sought after job segments in the healthcare industry, with over 40% new top job offerings, and also the major gap in demand and supply. So why is clinical research considered the most attractive or the most explicit profile in this particular industry? Because there is a major gap in the demand and supply of trained manpower, and also they have, with the shift of work in India, expected market sizes more than 2 billion. In the current scenario, all of you are aware that because of this clinical trials going on for the pandemic situation, especially because the pandemic situation is going on, there is very, very high requirement. So in the current situation, there is a very huge requirement in this particular industry, and there's a lot of opportunities of work from home option as well because of this current requirements. Like you can see, even in a general scenario, it's not just about the pandemic situation. Generally, this particular requirement has a lot of interview requirements, and the reason is there is a very high demand. Like we saw, clinical trials, it requires with a basic understanding of ICH GCP guidelines, and all the documentation part is important. There is also a very important requirement of clinical data management. The students have to be trained on Medidata Rave or either into SAS. And for the pharmacovigilance, it's important they have to take up with the Argus software technical knowledge. So all these things involves in particularly this particular requirement. So you can look into the companies like Quintiles, USA Corp. So all these companies, the recruitments are very, very high. So that is the basic background for clinical research. So this is one of the slides which explains why is India considered a hub for clinical research. India is one of the most topmost 3 countries where companies plan to spend the most R&D dollars over the last 3 years. It also has a favored destination. So if you could ask, like, why is India considered the most favorable hub for clinical research? I think all of you would be aware that it's a favored destination. One of the major reasons is the population. Higher the population, the cost of volunteers, people who are taking part in a clinical trial, will be lesser. It's also the favored destination because the population and the cost of conducting a trial is very less in India. The powerhouse in R&D, one of the most important reason is the major multinational companies' presence in India. So we have over 60 CROs. So it has over 60 CROs offering phase 1 to 4 clinical trials, complying over 200 hospitals serving as sites for clinical trials. India is emerging as one of the fastest recruiters of subjects across the world. Some of the top medical technical universities in Asia. So all these are the reasons why India is the major hub of clinical trials. So what is this? The basic thing of clinical vital status. So if you take up with why this particular thing for clinical trials, it is very high, and the vital status of clinical trials. The major reason, apart from all the other factors, is India has a very wide thing which is for India's vital clinical status. which is you can look into the cancer, diabetes, HIV, epilepsy, hypertension, schizophrenia. So all these are the major thing which is for the reasons why you need this particular thing. So you have, I can see a lot of people asking questions like elaborate on the hierarchy of clinical research job, Sajal, and I'm a fresher, I've just completed my BPharm course. Okay, thoda slow. But it's a fast hai kya? A discussion. If you have doubts or any questions, you can just leave it on the chat column. I'm just watching that, so I will also answer you specifically. So this, you can look into the India's vital clinical status, starting from cancer to diabetes to HIV, epilepsy. So all these are the biggest status that has been shown. And the reason, because there is higher number of diseases, there is higher number of patients, the population is high. You can look into this. There are number of more than 6 lakh plus practicing physicians, and there are more than 14,000 hospitals in India. You can see like 700,000 beds, and you also have 17,000 medical graduates. So all the pharma graduates, pharma professionals also have a very high scope in this particular industry. So people who are with a BSc, with a DPharm. Yes, Sajal Kar, tell me, you have a question. So you have any questions, you can coordinate, you can let me know. So you can just type it in the message. I will also be able to answer you. So for people who are just a fresher, the first part you need to know is like, because there's always a huge cry from the fresher side saying we don't get any opportunities being a fresher. But I wanted to tell you this, there's huge number of opportunities, but never add this tagline, I'm a fresher. I always tell people, when you post on a LinkedIn page or your profile in your resume, so rather than applying for any of the positions mentioning I'm a fresher, start learning this. I think one of the best options you guys have taken is, and we need to thank Sanyasi, who's the admin of this particular page, who made it a point that all the students need to have a particular background to understand how this entire industry operates. So you can ask your questions. I'll be able to answer you as we keep going through the slide. And you can see this slide which involves with the clinical research. I was telling you, don't add it as a pressure, but please take in efforts to understand all the kind of career pathways. This slide explains to you all the clinical research career pathway, and be open for at least 2-3 industries, because the industry of clinical trials, it is an open industry where it operates with pharmaceutical companies. So where all do you go for a work in a clinical research industry? The first part is pharmaceutical companies. So you answer, see, when I'm questioning, you can answer in the chat column, in the comments column, so I'll know that you people are understanding and what questions you require. So you have the pharmaceutical companies, clinical CROs. What is the clinical CROs, which is called as contract research organizations? I joined as a CTA in CRO company. So after 2 to 3 years, what will be the growth option in this career? See, because you join as a clinical trial, one of the majorly asked questions is this, where you have a clinical trial associate. You join in a clinical trial associate or a CRA position. Within 1 year or 6 months, you can always move. That is from clinical trial industry to clinical data management to moving into pharmacovigilance. So all the 3 industries are totally interlinked. So you can work with CTA position, and with the experience, you can move into clinical data management with a higher package. It always moves either from CRA to CDM or PV. So ideally, if you have joined either into clinical data management or pharmacovigilance, grow in a virtual plane, where in the PV industry, you can keep growing, like within 1 or 2 years experience, you will be able to proceed with a higher package, or probably within 2 years, you have a lot of international opportunities and you can proceed with this particular experience with this industry. So it involves with investigator and site staffs. So what are the different opportunities that is available? It involves with the bioanalytical bioequivalence centers, we have the site management organizations, the data management CROs. So what is the difference between a site management organization as well as a clinical contract research organization? Site management organizations are places where, how does it happen? There is one clinical trial industry which involves into trials and site management in different locations. A CRO is there in a place and they do trials across the country and probably even globally. So they hold the trials happening in different site management organizations, and you will be called as a CRC, clinical. There is a difference. Clinical research coordinator is where you work in a site management organization or in a hospital. When you work in a clinical research organization, that is in a CRO, like you can tell Novo Nordisk or it's PPDI Pharmaceutical or IQVIA, all these are contract clinical research organizations. When you work as a CRA in an MNC, in clinical trials, the designation is called as clinical trial associate or a clinical research associate. So that's the subtle difference between. So in the industry of clinical research itself, you have multiple different designations. You starts with a project coordinator in certain companies. So that's the reason you have to go into the depth of understanding the entire job roles, especially when you start with the fresher role. And you have the roles and work as in the bioanalytical bioequivalence centers, which involves with site management organizations, and also in site management organizations. Easily I can move in CDM from CTA position. That time they will consider my CTA experience or not. Sajal wants to know whether I can easily move. See, the question is, you have a CTA experience, you have to apply for clinical data management companies and you have to move, and they will definitely consider your work experience as a CTA, and based on that experience and exposure only, they give you a position for a higher profile. So you don't join as a clinical data management trainee position. You join as a clinical data management associate position. So it's easy for you to go ahead. And we have the data management CROs. There are certain companies, you should understand, data management happens in either a CRO, data management CROs are there, and it also happens in IT companies. So there is a difference. Like I explained to you, trial master file specialist is a separate role, clinical document management associate is a separate role, and there is also certain positions called as medical writing, document management, and all these different profiles are also there. We have something which is in IT companies, in healthcare, as well as in clinical domain. We have an industry of this entire trials and all this involved with central laboratories as well. We have a packaging and labeling and contracting manufacturers. We also have the investigator and site staffs. So all these, and obviously in training centers. So why do you require a career in clinical research? The most important asked question, why do you need a career in clinical research? It is the most fastest growing segment in the healthcare. It's the most fastest growing segment in the healthcare pharmaceutical industry. And it was also the excellent opportunity to develop combination of technical and management skills. It's a part of being a global growth opportunity. So why is it you require a career in clinical research? It's the fastest growing segment in the healthcare pharmaceutical industry. It has an excellent opportunity to develop combination of technical skills and management skills. It's a part of the global growth opportunity. You are a part of the global growth opportunity. It also has a wider job horizon, rapidly growing opportunities, both internal and external. So how do you grow? It's a very important question. Like when you get a CDM experience or a CRA experience, do you grow only within the same company? You can use that experience. Internally, the growth opportunities are very high. Externally also, using that experience, either for India or abroad, you have a lot of opportunities. And the most important part, like all the students like, it has an attractive compensation. Why there is? And one of the most important things I would like is in this industry, you will almost be considered on par. Pharmacy graduate will also be working in the pharmacovigilance associate, and the BDS will also be working. Doctors will also be working. Just that a few companies, they give it as drug safety physician roles and drug safety associates for a few profiles. You'll all be in the same industry. So all of people who had thought that no, you want to become a doctor and you ended up in B pharmacy or M pharmacy, and you're into the pharmaceutical industry, this is one opportunity which almost bridges the gap between a doctor profile as well as with the pharmaceutical profile. So it has rapidly growing opportunities and growing internal and external. It has an attractive compensation and the future growth. It also has a higher job satisfaction. You have continuous training opportunities, international opportunities. So that is the one of the important reason, like all the students who will be getting for rapidly growing opportunities and also continuous training opportunities and international opportunities. I want to learn clinical SAS, so please suggest a good institution or any online course. See, Sajal, like basically I represent an institution called Domasi Research. I'm the founder and the legal director of this institution. So we have a very specified courses of clinical SAS, clinical data management. I'll explain the slides also. We'll just go through a small quick recap of understanding what are the different designations. I'm just sharing a few glimpses of students who have got placed from our institution, who got trained from our institution, and basically for understanding what are the different qualification and different designations that is available, what qualification are all eligible for certain positions, all this you will understand. Just a few glimpses I just wanted to show in this session. You can see this person, he's a PharmD student, Dr. V. Dhananjay. He's a PharmD student from Kadapa and JNTU Anantapur, and he got placed in Navitas as a drug safety associate. So you can see PharmD, MPharm and BPharm. All the three are the most picked up profiles for pharmacovigilance, much more than life science students. You can see this guy who's with Syneos Health in as a e-trial master file specialist. He got placed into. He's an MTech biotechnology student. Kartik Kumar. He's from Pratyusha Engineering College. So all these roles are work from home options. So that is a major thing. So in this current scenario, when it's easy to enter into as a work from home option, the entire procedure also becomes much easier. So we have a person called Fatima Sheikh who got placed as a clinical research associate at Accentric, Pune. So you can see the qualification. So even an MSc biotechnology student, they get it in as a CRA position. You can see, look at this candidate, Surya Darshana. She's a PharmD student, and she's from Hyderabad, Holy Mary Institute, and she got placed in Syneos as a trial master file specialist. So this is Atej, is a B Pharmacy student from Pune who got placed into Cognizant as a junior data analyst position. You can have this Surya Nambiar, MSc Biotechnology student from Pune. She got placed into Syneos as an e-trial master file specialist. This girl is Manaswini, who got placed as a clinical project coordinator. I'm just showing different qualifications, what qualifications and how they are eligible for this particular industry. So what is the designation? And you can see the difference also in the designations. It's clinical project coordinator at Covance, and this girl entered into a pharmacovigilance industry. The designation is different. So each part, they have a different specification. This guy is Shankar Das, who got placed as a drug safety associate at Quatishan, Bangalore. So this was a PharmD student, and in pharmacovigilance, the designation was drug safety associate. This is Dr. Kevin, he's also a PharmD student from Bangalore, got placed in Quatishan itself. Is it mandatory to do strictly government stops? Hamid wants to know, strictly government stops rental services or pharmacist certificate, then automatically pharmacists work all over India. See, Hamid, it's been time that we had always been, fighting that we need a pharmacist role, and being a pharmacist in India, I would say like within 2 years of experience, if you're truly looking for entering into the pharmacist role, and then you want to move abroad, say like there's a lot of opportunities in Dubai. I think as a pharmacist, this is one thing we are taught in college, that pharmacist role is considered as the first cadre in all the abroad countries. In fact, doctors are the second cadre. If you're aware that a pharmacist, the doctor can only diagnose what is the disease, and the pharmacist only has to prescribe the drug. It happens in a different way in India. The doctor prescribes the drugs, pharmacist is only dispensing the drugs. So that is the work role that is happening. So that entire change of a pharmacist role, when it changes, the doctor can only diagnose and the prescription has to be written by a pharmacist. Then obviously you being specific that you have to be only the pharmacist is right. But I think India is giving us an opportunity where you start working like a doctor. A drug safety associate, being a pharmacist, is much better. Are you all aware what will be the salary packages that will be offered for being a pharmacovigilance associate? All these guys are drawing around 4 lakhs to 4.5 lakhs package as a fresher. So I think 4.5 lakhs, 4 to 4.5 lakhs package as a fresher in India, getting into pharmacovigilance associate position for a pharma student is a fabulous start. In regulatory affairs or into clinical data management, even in clinical trial, something between 3.5 to 4.5 lakhs is the pay range in all these MNCs. I think it's a fabulous start. So let's not get into, like, why is pharmacist certificate rented out? You are a pharmacist. You don't want to rent it out. You want to work as a pharmacist. You are going to enjoy the role of a pharmacist. And be open for all these. The corporate, you enter into pharmacovigilance or a clinical trial, you're working as a doctor. You're going to do trials on patients. You're going to do pharmacovigilance on the record management, everything. So obviously we are far ahead as a pharmacist. Okay, is MPharm mandatory to enter in pharmacovigilance? Sudipta wants to know. Sudipta, actually, MPharm is not mandatory for entering into pharmacovigilance. I think maybe you saw the slide. In the slide, a lot of pharma students, you saw that only the M-pharmacy students have got the offer in PV, but it's not mandatory. There are a lot of companies which is recruiting. See, based on that list of students we send, and according to that, the companies are recruiting. So you can see PharmD and M-Pharm. Generally, B-Pharm, M-Pharm, PharmD, all the three are the most suitable profiles to enter into the pharmacovigilance industry. So you have any questions? I'm open for the questions. I think you saw the slide also where you can look into this slide. You can write down this number. This is one of our HR's contact number, 9344064445. Her name is Nivedita. Or you can note down the mail ID also, which is info@omasiresearch.com. So you have any doubts on the courses, details, the requirements, interview requirements that's currently going on, you can coordinate with us, or even after attending the session, you can just send a feedback to this contact number along with your CV. Our HR team will take it forward to help you out in what interview requirements you require. So I think this number is visible to everyone. 9344064445. You can check in the Omasi Research website also. And also you can write to us in info@omasiresearch.com, and you can share your CV also in that particular contact number. So do you have any further questions? Kata, you need to ask any further questions?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What are the, ma'am?
Tell me.
What are the basic requirements of pharmacovigilance?
You're talking about the qualification, Kata?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As per the qualification, am I audible right now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So as per the qualification that is required for entering into pharmacovigilance in India, you can expect a B-Pharm, and that's what I was explaining. All the three, that is B-Pharmacy, M-Pharmacy, as well as for the PharmD students. There are doctors, BDS, generally it is from the pharma industry to doctors' profiles. So all the medicos also are considered, like BHMS or physiotherapists and BDS, MBBS. All of them are also eligible. In pharmaceutical industry students, we have with pharma students. That is B-Pharm, M-Pharm and PharmD are all eligible.
Ma'am, if anybody wants to do M-Pharm in pharmaceutics, then he or she can eligible for that.
Yeah. M-Pharm, see, this is one important question Kata was asking me already. M-Pharmaceutics, see, there is one myth people say, only M-Pharm pharmacology are eligible for PV. That is not at all true. M-Pharm, see, that's what I'm saying. No, B-Pharm as a pressure, I can show you because we just had a small slide session. I just wanted to show the glimpse. I didn't show the entire lot. There are even MSc students right now, companies are recruiting for PV industry. Okay, so there is no question whether M-Pharmaceutics can take in, or M-Pharm, or even M-Pharm regulatory affairs can enter into PV.
So as far as it's a pharmaceutical student, you're a B.Pharm, one thing which majorly the companies look for, it's not about B.Pharm, M.Pharm or M.Pharmaceutics or regulatory affairs or PV pharmacology students. They want a specified certification into PV. So PV is not something what we learned in pharmacology. Pharmacology and pharmacovigilance are not exactly the same. People get confused. People think I've studied M.Pharm pharmacology, so I'm eligible for PV. There are, even as a fresher, if you enter into a MNC, they will start at 2 to 2.5 lakhs package. They will give you a pharmacovigilance trainee position, taking in with an M.Pharm fresher. Rather than that, you go into 2.5 lakhs package, work in as a PV trainee for 1 year, and then you have to go for a pharmacovigilance associate or a drug safety associate. Might as well invest on time on either a 1 month certification or the 3 months diploma into pharmacovigilance, which involves with the software. And the current situation, the companies are recruiting on a work from home option. They are recruiting, you have been trained, you are recruited, they are sending you the system. They're sending you a laptop. And automatically you have to log in, you have to plug in with another software. How will you be able to work? So they give you a PV trainee position and then move. So ideally invest on learning a pharmacovigilance course properly with an online complete modules, clinical data management. So if you take up with the 3 months diploma, we have a 1 year course. Already MSc Clinical Research was a 2 years course, which had with 3 months of theory practicals and 9 months of internship, where you had to be trained on clinical trials, everything. In fact, we were one of the most important institutions which broke this culture of MSc Clinical Research. 2 years course into clinical trial PV is not required to enter into an MNC in India. That is the requirement. You take a minimum of a 3 month diploma or a 1 month or a 6 months PG diploma in clinical research PV. You learn 1 month of theory, one month of CDM, 1 month of PV, which will hardly cover up to 36 hours. 3 months diploma in clinical research will just cover up to 36 hours. So you can finish it up. If you can patch it up to 2-3 hours per day, 15 days is enough for you to cover up a 3 months diploma to learn all the basic software handling, everything, and enter into a multinational company. That's the maximum requirement. And in the current scenario, the requirement of the companies are very, very specific. They are not specific on the location part, because they don't require this particular thing, like you have to come directly. You can take it up as a work from home option. So all these people, they're working for a different company from a different location. The company is in a different location, because the moment you're getting the offer, the companies will be sending you the laptops. You will be starting to log in from your house and start working. So the location preference is gone, pandemic is going on. So what is happening? Entire vaccines to the drugs, clinical trials is going on, PV is going on. So the opportunities are very high. The only reason why there is people, caught between this part, that whether I have to go for this interview, because clinical trial associate, you have to go for a direct work. So there's a lot of opportunities. Walk-in drive is going on currently. And the safer part is CDM and PV. For that, you definitely need a proper certification. So the moment you take up with the certification, because as an M.Pharm, that's what I told. So as a fresher, you go PV trainee position, and it's also very difficult to enter into that, because when you mention as a fresher, the HR would say you don't have a PV experience. Currently, we need immediate joining, and the project is ongoing project. They don't have time to put a full set of people train. Normally, PV, they will keep on training. Batches will keep on coming and they'll be training. Right now, that also has to be on online, So you will always have an added advantage. You have a proper PV certification and also proper reference. This is very, very important. People don't have to keep searching, because HRs, you have thousands of people apply through any job portal or through any LinkedIn post. Whatever they do, you have a lot of people who are applying. So when you go through a proper institutional support, the companies are already get tied up with all the multinational companies, and you're also being technically trained. You need a proper referral, you need a proper technical knowledge. When you have both, it's a cakewalk. You just walk in through a offer. That will be the way we begin. So we have some. Yeah.
Ma'am, what is the yellow card in pharmacovigilance?
Yeah, I'll explain that. I have another thing which is Sajal. What is the salary package for clinical data management with 1 year experience as a CTA? So it depends on a CTA experience, where the salary package for a clinical data management. Sajal, are you working as a CTA, clinical trial associate? Are you working as a CTA, Sajal? Can you reply back? See, it depends on the package. Whatever you're drawing in the current thing, you will be able to go ahead with that same profile. So they will be starting with minimum of, I think he's replying back. Yes, Sajal? See, the package would start from a minimum of 30 to 40% hike, 20 to 40, you can say. So you suppose you're drawing already around 3 lakhs package as a clinical trial associate, you can consider it's considered almost equivalent on par with the current experience. So they will consider you as an experienced candidate and give you 20 to 30% of hike. So as Katha was asking, what is the yellow card scheme in pharmacovigilance? It is the United Kingdom way of collecting with all the adverse events. So they do with adverse event collection, and that particular scheme which they follow in United Kingdom, UK, London is the particular part in yellow card in pharmacovigilance. Sajal, your queries are cleared, Sajal? So you, anyone else has any queries?
Ma'am,
Yeah,
ma'am,
tell me.
between clinical SASH and pharmacovigilance, which one is better in the view of salary?
The most important part is clinical SAS. It's not easy. At least PV with some theoretical knowledge you can enter. Getting into a SAS programmer as a fresher is a very difficult part in the current scenario, because SAS is completely software related. So you will not have the general requirement is definitely you have to have a SAS certification, and preferably the MNCs are even recruiting with the base of a global SAS certification. So you should have cleared a global SAS certification. Based on that, they will be recruiting. So in that scenario, you can find that particularly you will have with the clinical SAS program, you almost like 4 to 4.5 lakhs in MNCs. They provide with both for the SAS as well as for the PV. So ideally, what I would suggest is learn clinical trial CDM PV SAS, which covers in a 3 months diploma. Get exposed to at least 2-3 interviews, CDM and PV. So because there is no fixed standards. As I told you, anything between 3.5 to 4.5 lakhs is the package. Depends on the different MNCs and different, like I showed you, it's a trial master file specialist in the same company. They have a clinical data management associate also. And we have seen same trial master file, some of the students have got 3.5 lakhs package. Some students, depending on the HR interaction with that particular batch of projects, they've taken 4.5 lakhs also. So we have live examples of different salary package from the same company, same designation. So if you can just be open for both SAS and PV, and I would suggest you get a higher package, enter into that industry, because all are interlinked. At the current scenario, because whenever you take up with a 4.5 lakhs package in a CDM, and later you want to move into PV with at least a minimum 6 months experience, even with that, you will be going with that 6 months experience, you'll go for at least 30-40% hike to enter into PV. So it's all interlinked. So be open with all the three. Don't fix your mind only on, yes, you have to specialize. PV is your core expertise, being a pharma student. Specialize it in complete thing, but also learn, because see, it's like learning basics of ABCD or numbers or your national language. All the three is important for communication. Learn all the three. In whichever you are interested, specialize yourself, and whichever opportunity comes in, enter into. So it makes it very easy. I always believe, like, keep more options. Just keep a couple of options. Don't get stuck with just one option.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Katha?
Yes, ma'am. How can we go to abroad after completing pharmacy?
Yeah, see, pharmacy thing. Wait, Sajal is also asking some questions. Sajal is having a lot of questions. Sajal, I think perhaps you have to send your CV to this contact number what I mentioned in the screen, so that I'll ask one of the HR to guide you completely. Okay, he has a lot of questions. One student on the FB Live, he's asking questions. Yeah. Katha, like you had asked, how do we go for abroad? See, Dubai, it has a different, all these countries have a different role. If you have to go into as a pharmacist, you have minimum, they are expecting 2 years of experience in pharmacist role. And for thing, you have a DHA exam for Dubai. And right now, even Arabic language, earlier they used to have the Arabic language. It's a huge surge in the current scenario for Dubai for pharmacist role. Any person with 2 years of experience, they have to write an online exam. DHA exam is there, and that all the modules are all there. We also have a specialized courses also for the DHA exam. So you've been trained on that online examination. You have to complete. You will get a certified thing. and automatically with that certificate you have to apply for the Dubai requirements. So for the same case for US, UK also there are certain intermediate exams that is there. You have to take up with that exam, online exam, you have to clear. The minimum criteria is 2 years experience. And all this is for pharmacists. You have to take an experience and also clear that particular country's examination. The easiest way to enter in all these abroad countries, either CRA experience, CDM experience, or PV experience, there's huge opportunities because all the companies are multinational companies, including for IQVIA or Accenture, any MNC that you are working for. All these companies are multinational companies with 2-3 years of experience. You can easily apply for the abroad country and you can go. Okay, so there is a lot of company requirements. Yeah, tell me. I'm just seeing the questions. I'm confused to join PV or CDM. So, see, Sajal, my question is, you will never know which one you will be more interested for. I'm telling you, learn both. CDM also you focus and learn on the practical part. If you are strong in the technicals, you will not be worried. You will not have this question. If you study the software of Medidata, Rave, and PV, then automatically you're not going to have a confusion. You learn both is interlinked. It's like asking whether I should take pharmacology subject or should I go for anatomy physiology. Both is interlinked. Learn. For getting an examination mark, you want to clear a BPharm, MPharm, you have to get a good mark in anatomy physiology also, pharmacology also. So there is no question pharmaceutics is important or pharmacology is important. It's not a question in BPharm. You have to clear both. That's how I see CDM and pharmacologists. All the clinical trials, all the three is interlinked. Probably at least regulatory affairs and SAS are a specification. They are specialized clinical assessments. People will be focused for clinical SAS. Just be open for CDM, SAS and CDM. Even in SAS, don't narrow your opportunities. When you are open, your mind will be open for all the opportunities that
it's 5 o'clock.
All these industries. So, any other questions, Kata?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, which country has a better future in pharmacovigilance among USA, Canada, India, and Germany?
See, all the companies have, especially for US, UK, Germany, or Dubai. Even Dubai is opened up with a lot of PV modules in different scenario. Dubai was a little late to enter into PV's clinical trials. They had a lot of restrictions. They began only in 2019, and we had the honor of introducing a lot of PV modules into top universities in Dubai. So we have worked closely with the PV professionals there. So they are also picking up with a lot of PV recruitments. In the current scenario, there's a lot of recruitments. US, UK, Canada, all the three countries are top. US, UK will be the topmost to choose on. Even Singapore, Malaysia, the number of opportunities are a little less compared when you take up with US or UK and Canada. Okay. So I think we are almost close to the session. So if you have any other questions, I think it's almost 5, right? Yeah. So any other questions, Kata?
No, ma'am.
I think we are clear. Yeah, I think we are clear with most of the questions. It was a wonderful session with Sannyasi's group. I'm a pharmacist. It's a very proud moment. Okay, being a pharmacist, that's one thing which we cherish because a lot of institutions, or you find people, even in the HRs, not all the HRs are pharmacists. They are, in fact, that is the reason that I coordinate with the HR because I had a rare combination where I was a pharmacist also. I worked in PV also. I worked as a HR recruitment also. I'm also an advocate. I'm a legal director also. So I work with all these things to make sure that the students have a clarity on the technical knowledge. There is no substitute for competence. You're competent enough in your technical knowledge, you'll be grabbed by the companies. And with the HR recruitments, we provide a very big base with the reference. So it's very easy for a HR to coordinate with a pharmaceutical-based institution because we understand what the HR requires. So we will get the profile also worked out. We'll give all the information to the students based on how you have to clear the interviews. So it becomes simultaneous. So the students will take the classes, training, and it's also simultaneous. In any institution there you find this model where you start with the enrollment of class, immediately within 2 days you will start attending the interviews. So you get an exposure, CRA, CDM, PV, so you will not have confusion whether I have to choose this or that. Like how your topics are being taught, we also go ahead with an entire CDM, PV, CRA interview exposures. So you get easily understanding, because you attend an interview, you understand the workload. So then it's easier for you to choose. So it's not a very difficult thing. That's one thing I know. Definitely a most easiest conquerable thing entering into a PV in India and moving forward for abroad with an experience. Both is very easy, provided you have a professional support. Professional, aggressive support, what we provide. Otherwise, we couldn't have reached, or we have a decade of experience, 10 years of experience in running an institution which has moved truly global. We have almost conquered 13 countries, and just because of 13 countries, we have gone directly. We have launched these classes across all the universities. The only reason is the placement part, because we ensure that all the students get the maximum support in all the placement opportunities, so that you get the obviously you get exposures, you get your. So there is no question. It's not a very difficult thing whether everybody will get. And some place where we decided that everybody will get only 20. There is no substandard entry just into a CRA industry. So we made sure that everything is the best to the students. So obviously we've been picking, and I thank this forum to have opened up, because not in a group of pharmacists, I've always spoken to students whom we have referred and we have taken with all the institutional sessions. This is the first time I'm doing an FB live in a pharmacist group. So thank you so much for all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Sanyasi, can we sign off? Is there any questions or anything that I have to answer? Can we sign off, Sanyasi? Can you tell us? Tata, is Sanyasi there online?
No, ma'am.
Okay, he's not there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He can.
He has come. Yeah. Yes, pharma reporters. Sajal, you can just coordinate with the contact number that I had mentioned, 9344064445, so that or you can visit us on the website of Massey Research and coordinate. Get your queries clear. You need a proper support to, step-by-step support. It's not like I can give you a suggestion and you will get an offer. That's not fair. You need a step-by-step support, both on the technical knowledge. When you add the certificate on your CV, then automatically for you to handle these interviews become easier. Then comes the referral interview part. So everything we will be coordinating and will be guiding. Okay. So Katha, I can sign off?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
joining.